Chapter 2276, Knowledge is Power. Brad could withstand Fong Buping's blazing flames, but he couldn't withstand Uncle Yu's strike. That mosaic shield was smashed to pieces, and his body was shattered as well. For a trait system mutant, physical strength is only marginally stronger than an ordinary person's. Without the protection of their abilities, they're incredibly fragile. The once arrogant Brad was thus slain by Uncle Yu. Uncle Yu extracted Brad's origin. From afar, Fong Buping watched longingly. Such a powerful origin, equivalent to a black chariot level, was something he'd never witnessed in his entire life. Consider this, Brad's strength rivaled that of Xinjiang region's second-ranked figure, the Xidagarba king, Shang Daowen. If he absorbed this power, he might one day catch up to, or even surpass, Shang Daowen. But Fong Buping knew his contribution to this battle had been negligible, and he hung his head in shame. Uncle Yu, holding that potent mass of life energy-infused origin, found Fong Buping's dejected look rather amusing. It reminded him of encountering a new recruit firing a gun for the first time on the battlefield. Uncle Yu pondered briefly, then allocated roughly 20% of the origin. He sealed it into an energy storage canister and tossed it toward Fong Buping. Fong Buping lifted his head, watching the canister fly toward him. Startled, he reached out to catch it. Feeling the surging power, he stared at Uncle Yu in disbelief. Truthfully, he hadn't exerted much effort in this battle. Even if Uncle Yu hadn't shared any with him, he might have felt a bit annoyed, but it would have been acceptable. After all, they belonged to different battle zones and weren't particularly close. Uncle Wu, I didn't do much to help you either. Uncle Yu chuckled. For your first time on the battlefield, you did exceptionally well. Keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing even more impressive performances from you. A wave of warmth surged through Fong Buping's heart. This kind of camaraderie was something he'd never experienced in the cutthroat competitive environment of the Xinjiang region. Little did he know that compared to Xinjiang region's scarcity of resources, Zhang Yi's team in Tianhai City had already acquired numerous bishop-level mutant origins. Black chariot-level mutant origins were even routinely distributed by Zhang Yi to his allies. Thank you, Uncle Wu. I'll remember this kindness. I'll repay you someday. Fong Buping bowed his hands in respect toward Uncle Yu. Uncle Yu merely smiled, then scanned the surroundings before instructing him, this district is essentially cleared. Let's move elsewhere. Look for those needing aid and help them end their battles swiftly. Fong Buping nodded and followed Uncle Yu as they flew toward other battlefronts. War raged everywhere across the Wulwan Empire. The Mechanical Legions spread like ants across the land of East City, expanding into other districts. Now that the Central District had been breached, even Epsilon-rank mutants were pinned down, unable to assist elsewhere. Thus, these formidable war machines had become nearly invincible. Under the cover of the Mechanical Legion, the Huashu Kingdom's mutant coalition forces split into several groups, charging into various districts. Their sole objective, to wipe out every lizard man here. This was a protracted process, for the entire Wulwan Empire spanned vast territories, and they had to clear it region by region. The initial phase was bombardment. The Reaper of Love detonated by Zhang Yi delivered the first wave of deterrence, sending shockwaves of terror throughout the entire Wulwan Empire. Yet, the population killed directly or indirectly by the explosions numbered only in the hundreds of thousands. The remaining 20+ million lizard men would require the war machines to mow them down like a harvester cutting wheat, one wave after another. Deng Shintong and Fatty Su joined forces, their battle now nearing its end. Malgar, the manipulator of light and shadow, found herself trapped within a shadowless zone. Deng Shintong's colossal heavenly Dao Star and Fatty Su's infinite reflective prisms neutralized her abilities, while Deng's own powers completely overpowered her light manipulation. Deprived of all protection, Malgar was instantly pierced through the chest by Deng Shintong's sword, dying instantly. With this, all 10 silver armor generals on the Eastern Front had fallen in battle. The Wulwan Empire's forces were utterly defeated. A tidal wave of attack surged toward the entire Wulwan Empire. In the central district, only the garrison at the city center continued to put up a desperate resistance. Military headquarters. Bing Li Huan's vector manipulation finally met its match. Brian's physique proved too resilient. Her telekinesis storm, whispering shards, failed to inflict swift, effective damage. Ironically, her most prized vector manipulation was breached by Professor Da Vinci's vector cannon. Woof woof, woof. Hurry up and take out this annoying woman. She's hurting me, woof woof woof. Brian sprinted at breakneck speed, carrying Professor Da Vinci on his back. Meanwhile, Professor Da Vinci methodically recalibrated his pistol's parameters. After each attack, he meticulously adjusted the settings. The vector cannon concentrated hundreds of individual vector cannons firing energy beams of varying attributes simultaneously. This involved tens of thousands of distinct energy light waves, each attack's vector parameters randomly shifting at nanosecond-level frequencies. For Bing Li Huan to precisely deflect these assaults, her brain's computational power would need to rival that of a supercomputer. This was, of course, impossible. Consequently, she couldn't deflect every attack with precision, meaning some would inevitably strike her physical form. Yet the prolonged battle began to wear Professor Da Vinci down. Many assumed this old man must be some extraordinary talent within the Natural Science Association. In reality, however, he was just an ordinary person. Yes, the most ordinary of ordinary people, not even an alpha-level mutant. On the eve of the supernova explosion, high-ranking officials from numerous world powers received the news. Professor Da Vinci, too, used his talents to predict this event. He had prepared a safety pod in advance, isolating himself and his dog, to avoid the danger of gamma-ray exposure. Thus, he underwent no mutations whatsoever. Was this a blessing or a curse? No one could say for certain. After all, given his advanced age, exposure to the radiation might have killed him instantly. Later, however, he did use his extraordinary talents to transform his beloved dog, Brian, into a mutated superdog. This extended the life of a 12-year-old dog, allowing it to remain by his side forever. As for Da Vinci himself? Mutations? That was the least of his concerns. With his technological prowess, he could attain immense power without needing gamma radiation exposure. Knowledge is power. Professor Da Vinci embodied this truth with every fiber of his being. Chapter 2277, Vector Explosion. Woof woof, woof woof woof. Brian sprinted at breakneck speed, all while not forgetting to tease the old geezer on his back. Hey, old man, you haven't got Parkinson's, have you? You're moving so slow. You should consider getting yourself a mechanical body, just like in the movies. Take your head out like tofu pudding and put it in a container. Shut up, damn Brian. I'm still young enough to fight like a gladiator in the Roman Colosseum. Braving the powerful psychic storm, the man and dog bickered, yet Brian blocked every grumble. All right, let's move. Take out this female lizard person. Professor Da Vinci narrowed his eyes, fixating on Bing Li Huan. His gaze held no human hatred toward lizard people, only admiration. The kind of admiration reserved for a work of art, or rather, a specimen. That gaze sent a chill through Bing Li Huan. She couldn't shake the feeling that the old human had sinister intentions. It filled her with fury. Just then, urgent cries of distress echoed from the palace. Bing Li Huan! Enemies have breached the palace. Come quickly to aid us. Slay the assassins. Bing Li Huan's heart tightened. The palace was indeed under attack. If anything happened to the emperor, she knew the terrifying consequences that would follow. Perhaps the entire Woluan Empire would be destroyed. Yet, she couldn't leave the military headquarters now. Doing so would cause the front lines to collapse completely. In desperation, she pushed her output frequency to its absolute maximum. Damned intruders, all of you shall die. She spread her arms wide. A tempest of telekinesis erupted from her eyes like a tsunami, roaring outwards as it swept across the battlefield. Formless and intangible, the power of thought could shatter anything, This was the manifestation of etheric energy influencing the physical world. Telekinesis was an extremely advanced supernatural ability, a method of wielding power that came remarkably close to the very origin of the ether. Brian sprinted forward, his large ears flapping wildly. The psychic force moved too swiftly to evade. Gritting his teeth, he braced his body to absorb the full brunt of the attack, ensuring Professor Da Vinci on his back suffered not a single scratch. As Da Vinci put it, with these old bones, the slightest bump might send him flying apart. How could I not protect him properly? Brian, strike! Professor Da Vinci suddenly bellowed. Brian's body was covered in wounds, yet his gaze hardened into unwavering resolve. His fierce eyes locked onto Bing Li Huan. The Labrador's gaze transformed into that of a Spanish fighting bull. Bing Li Huan sensed the impending attack and swiftly channeled her telekinesis into a massive barrier to shield her body. The invisible telekinesis sphere enveloped her like a gigantic cell, with her as its tiny nucleus. Brian surged upward, his massive paws splayed apart, one above the other. Dual gravity world. Bing Li Huan braced for the shifting gravitational field, determined to maintain her balance and prevent her consciousness from scattering. Will it be zero gravity or hypergravity? Bing Li Huan's gaze grew intensely solemn. Yet the next moment, an utterly bizarre sensation enveloped her body. Neither weightlessness nor hypergravity. Centered on her waist, two diametrically opposed gravitational forces emerged. Her lower body felt violently dragged downward by some force, while her upper body was yanked skyward as if someone had grabbed her hair. Though protected by her psychic barrier, this unexpected force caught her off guard. The dual tugging at her waist caused it to rip open with a pop, flesh torn, blood splattering everywhere. Brian's gravity control wasn't centered on the Earth. He could set new gravitational points at will. So strictly speaking, his ability wasn't controlling gravity, it was controlling gravitational pull. The combined force of 10,000 times gravity pulling simultaneously from above and below created a terrifying, tearing force that was nearly impossible to defend against. Bing Li Huan's body was torn apart. The agony overwhelmed her mind, leaving her utterly unable to maintain clarity. At that very moment, Professor Da Vinci raised his gun, aiming directly at her. Taste the assault of 86,000 distinct vector beams. Let's see how you handle this. The toy-like weapon erupted in dazzling beams, blazing toward Bing Li Huan like a flock of birds diving toward a phoenix. Within Bing Li Huan's eyes, the vectors of every object's movement were visible. But this time, the sheer multitude of vectors nearly blew her mind apart. Get out of the way! All of you, get out of the way! A searing pain like being cut in half nearly sent her reeling into unconsciousness. As a mind user, her physical constitution was far from robust. Had adrenaline not temporarily dulled the agony, she would have collapsed. Even so, her mind had ceased functioning. She raised both hands, desperately twisting the vectors. But 86,000 vectors far exceeded her computational capacity. Sure enough, countless vector cannons slipped through her oversight, firing directly at her body. Even that thick psychic barrier couldn't simultaneously withstand the power of Bishop-level Brian and the might of Professor Da Vinci's mysterious pistol. SH. The telekinesis shield shattered. The ultrafine vector cannons struck Bing Li Huan's body, so minuscule they were finer than hairs or needle tips. Thus, they left no visible wounds upon impact. Yet soon, green cracks slowly appeared within her pupils. The vector cannon couldn't create visible wounds, but it could destroy the cells within her body. Now, her internal organs bled severely as countless capillaries burst. Green bloodshot veins spread across her eyeballs. Outwardly, she appeared intact, yet internally, the chaotic vector beams had already ravaged her body. Cough. As she opened her mouth, a large pool of blood spilled out, mixed with fragments of ruptured organs. Her psychic barrier vanished instantly, leaving her utterly defenseless. Brian let out a bark and lunged forward. Professor Da Vinci acted with lightning speed, drawing a capture gun from his coat. He fired a massive net woven from special material, snaring Bing Li Huan. Brilliant. I'm a genius. Professor Da Vinci pumped his fist in excitement, his eyes burning with passion as if he'd just spotted a stunning blonde. A living bishop-level lizard man. This is prime research material. Bing Li Huan was on the brink of death. Brian rushed over and pinned her down with his massive claw. After confirming there was no danger, Professor Da Vinci approached and administered an injection. Maintain her vital signs. Don't let her die. Chapter 2278, Aren't You Getting Dizzy? Without hesitation, Brian swallowed Bing Li Huan whole, now completely immobilized, retaining only vital signs. Burp. He belched loudly, rubbing his belly. What now? Miss Yang's task is complete. Professor Da Vinci scanned the surroundings with his small eyes. The entire city descended into utter chaos. The Allied forces had breached the defenses. In the distance, towering mechanical life forms as tall as skyscrapers were systematically purging lizard men from each district. Giant tongues of flame erupted from their barrels, reaching heights of 100 meters. Temperatures soaring into the thousands melted buildings, the intense heat instantly roasting any lizard men hiding within to death. Unable to endure the agony, some lizard men leaped from the buildings, wailing as they fell. They drifted down in a continuous stream, like dumplings dropping into boiling water. Search the museums and libraries here. There might be something of value. As for other places, it's best to avoid them for now. This area is far too chaotic. Besides, acting on your own could easily draw Zhang Yi's displeasure. After witnessing the brutality of this nation-destroying war, Professor Da Vinci's sense of awe toward Zhang Yi had grown immeasurably. He felt this man was nothing short of a monster. A monster even more terrifying than the underground civilization. The most crucial thing was, you could never know how many hidden cards he held, or what kind of insane actions he might take over what matters. Had he not witnessed it himself, he would never have believed that Zhang Yi could assemble such a terrifyingly massive army in less than half a year and annihilate the Wulwan Empire. Though I promised Chaos I wouldn't leak this intelligence, that guy probably isn't afraid I'll spill the beans. He might even be using me to warn Columbia's higher-ups. Anyway, give them a gentle heads up when you get back. They'd be foolish to crosswash you. No, this Chaos fellow. Professor Da Vinci aimed at the military headquarters sinking into the ground ahead, pulled the trigger, and unleashed a terrifying energy beam from the small muzzle. The massive military tower slowly melted and collapsed like a cream cake, completely sealing the soldiers inside. Let's go. This battle should be nearing its end. Next. He paused, glancing skyward as a terrifying aura spread from above like darkening clouds. Even from this great distance, it was faintly palpable. No, his battle needn't concern us. He fears death more than anyone, so if he takes action personally, failure is impossible. On the battlefield before the palace, Bam effortlessly disposed of the vast majority of reinforcing soldiers. As for the battle between Liang Yu and Royal Guard Captain Banqi, she had no intention of intervening. It wasn't unwillingness, she simply couldn't get involved. Both were Black Chariot level enhancement type mutants. Their close quarters combat generated such intense energy surges that terrifying wind barriers formed around them. Approaching recklessly could result in instant injury from the shockwaves. Bam struggled to even track their movements with the naked eye. She could only swing her whip, continuing to clear the swarm of reinforcements surrounding her. The Imperial Guards of the Central District had completely lost their minds. They witnessed the fallen Imperial Palace, while other districts still saw swarms of mechanical life forms, human soldiers, and their own comrades desperately pouring in. Chaos reigned here, like the apocalypse itself, with no glimmer of hope in sight. Thus, they could only charge toward the palace, determined to purge the enemies within first. This is never-ending. Fine, they're all going down anyway. Bam frowned, swinging his long whip with force. The long lash coiled and uncoiled in circles above his head. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, storms surged, and temperatures plummeted. A massive blizzard descended with Bam's movements, howling toward the ordinary lizardmen soldiers. They raised their heavy shields to block the storm's onslaught, but as the icy tempest struck, a whip-like shadow lashed out like a giant serpent. In an instant, it shattered their shields and chariots, tearing their bodies apart. The battle between Liang Yu and Banqi appeared exceptionally perilous. Banqi wielded his chained crescent blades with extraordinary skill. In terms of pure close-quarters combat technique, he was even a match for Liang Yu. Moreover, using the chains as a medium, he could form a vast field of ki energy around himself. This unleashed his invisible meteor blast. Yet Liang Yu possessed vast combat experience. Without hesitation, she chose the copper hammer as her weapon, opting for close-quarters combat. Having entered the state of heavenly harmony, her perception of all surrounding objects became superhuman. She could now see the trajectory of Banqi's chains and anticipate his attack patterns. Liang Yu crouched low, charging out like a black panther in a flash. She began spinning at high speed around Banqi. Whoosh! The extreme velocity generated a violent storm, creating a black tornado outside the palace that isolated everything from the outside world. Seeing this, Banqi's left hand unleashed a torrent of chains that extended outward, forming a barrier around his body. His right hand gripped the crescent blade tightly, holding it before him. Looking for my weakness? He saw through Liang Yu's intent. That short weapon was meant for close-quarters combat. His chain and crescent blade, however, were ill-suited for close-quarters combat. Yet his defense remained impeccable, denying Liang Yu any easy opportunity to close the distance. Liang Yu continued her high-speed rotation, the storm spinning ever faster and more violently. Banqi chose to hold his ground. I refuse to believe you can keep spinning like this indefinitely. Won't you get dizzy? As long as Liang Yu revealed herself, he could swiftly track her movements. But he hadn't anticipated that Liang Yu could sustain this spinning without dizziness. Her method wasn't simple running, it was a technique from traditional martial arts, the 8 trigrams wandering palm. Simply put, it involved rapidly circling an opponent to force them into exposing weaknesses. The crux of the 8 trigrams wandering palm lay in its footwork. By adhering to this precise rhythm, one could run without fainting before disorienting the opponent. Banqi spun the chain in his hand, not daring to let his guard down for a moment. Gradually, however, he sensed the wind pressure closing in. The circle seems to be shrinking. Is she closing in on me this way? Banqi finally grasped what Liang Yu intended.